what a mess.
This is Neil Schneider for Meant to Be Seen. Welcome back to my messy basement. I tried to clean it up a little bit since we were here last. Maybe you noticed a difference. It's still a mess, so sorry. But thanks to this coronavirus quarantine, it's given me a little extra time to do some work on the website and to put this together for you today. We have a lot to cover, okay? A lot of good things. In my opinion, I think that what I'm going to share with you today is going to open some doors to some really amazing audio experiences, or should I say virtual reality and video game audio experiences. I'm very excited about it. I think you will be too. Now, before I get into it, just some quick things to cover. Happy birthday to us. It kind of came and went. I didn't realize it. Would you believe that Meant to Be Seen is over 13 years old? Like, wow, I mean, that's a lot of time. It's hard to believe. And lucky 13, I figured I'd put some work into the website and get it upgraded right across the board. So we have a new website logo. We have upgraded software for the whole website, the forums, the content management system, the gallery. Everything's been upgraded. The whole website, I think, is much easier to use now. It's easier for users to register and participate on the site, and to share comments and so on. And I'm pleasantly surprised that we were able to keep as much of the stereoscopic 3D functionality, meaning that the ability to view images in full stereoscopic 3D form. That's something that's been unique to our website for many years, and we're still able to do most of it. So I'm very happy about that. And of course, MTVS, we're always excited about immersive technology, and we're looking at things like future computing and other innovations in compute as well. So we're exciting times ahead for the website, and I am so grateful that our users have been with us all these years, and I hope you continue to enjoy programs like this. Now, a little bit about myself, separate from Meant to Be Seen, is I serve as executive director for an organization called the International Future Computing Association. There's a little bit of news there that I thought was important to share. As an organization, by the way, it's a nonprofit industry organization. They're working towards something called the client-to-cloud revolution. And what this means is computing is changing. The way we use our computers, the abilities of our computers are going to be dramatically changing over the next few years. And as an organization, we're getting the ecosystem together to make these changes possible. Now, what the client-to-cloud revolution refers to is the journey to this next era of computing. And what I would encourage you to do is, if you could visit clienttocloud.net, so you could actually see an industry report as to where things are heading and why we're excited. And hopefully you'll be as excited too. So again, visit clienttocloud.net to learn more. The reason I bring this up is because as an organization, we of course want ecosystem together. We need ecosystem together to make these things work. And we're offering free 2-month memberships in the organization. And what we do is we have private teleconference meetings, and we talk about what's going on, where things are headed, what's needed to happen. We're having great success within the organization, and we want more participation. So we're giving a number of companies the opportunity to join, and of course we want them on long-term as well, but this is an opportunity to see how the organization works, and we're very excited about it. So if you visit tifca.com, tifca.com, and you choose to join, you'll see how to go about applying for this 2-month membership. It's subject to board of directors approval, but again, it's very much there, and a few companies are already taking advantage of it. So we're really excited about that. The other thing we're excited about is, granted we're all in this coronavirus lockdown right now, But we do have our annual conference, which we do, called the International Future Computing Summit. And the next edition of the summit is being held November 16th, 17th at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California. And the event's all about future computing and this client-to-cloud revolution. And we have an open call for speakers and sponsors to participate this year. We're very proud of the event. And I mean, granted, we're on a quarantine now, but we think that things will be somewhat more back to normal come November. And if not, we'll have other options. But all the same, we have an open call for speakers and sponsors. You could learn more about this at ifcsummit.com. Of course, we want you involved. So last but not least, I'm very proud of what we're going to be talking about today. I think it's going to have a positive influence on a lot of gamers and audio users out there. And if you like what you're hearing here, by all means, follow us at for MTBS 3D and TIFCA through Twitter and Facebook and on LinkedIn. And credit the find and share your own results. I'm just one tinkerer out there, and I'm sure you all have your own things to share. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you on that front. So, what is the excitement about? Why am I so tickled pink and I put this episode together? Well, let me describe the challenge. Okay, so the last time we got together in Neil's Messy Basement was way too long ago, and I did a product review for the Creative Labs Sound Blaster AE5. And I was very happy with the audio. So just for those unfamiliar, it is possible to have a sound card added to your PC computer to go beyond the audio that's built into the computer's motherboard. Most computers these days have audio built into the motherboard. And for many, that's good enough. But if you want something even better, you get a sound card. So Creative Labs AE5 is one of the big sound cards out there. And the sound card is really good if you have what's called analog 5.1 speakers. So what I mean by that is, usually your connections are either analog, where you have a number of individual jacks that connect to your sound card, usually one for each speaker, and it's analog, okay? Or the other option is a digital connection like HDMI or Toslink or DisplayPort. These are digital connectors. But in the case of the Creative Labs AE5, it was very much limited to analog connectors, okay? So again, good for 5.1 surround sound based on analog. Good for headphones, again, based on analog. You can get just a pair of speakers if you want, but it's still not quite, you're not really getting the full rewarding experience, but all the same, that's a possibility as well. My experience is, again, you get, good to excellent improvements over regular motherboard audio. It varies, okay, because not all motherboards are born equal. Some have, mediocre equipment. Some are motherboards have come a long way now, and you could get pretty decent audio out of just a plain computer without a sound card added to it. So the results will vary. However, the advantage of the Sound Blaster goes beyond just the audio quality of the audio coming out of the card. It also has a number of features that otherwise wouldn't be there. It has a crystallizer function, which decompresses the audio, so you get some extra features in the audio that you previously wouldn't have heard. Of course, it's got equalizers, it has special surround sound mixers, and more, bells and whistles that are really nice to have to tweak your audio to make it sound better than it normally would sound. But the thing is, you need to have the right equipment to connect to the sound card. And this is where the problem is. So, I have a surround sound setup here. I mean, it's not nothing super fancy, but it's 5.1. So, 3 speakers in the front, 2 in the back, plus a subwoofer. But it's connected through HDMI, which is pretty much the most standard connector in, home entertainment systems. If you have a set of Bluetooth headphones. Okay, so this is an example of this is a Skull Candy set of headphones. Bluetooth, again, no way to get the audio from the sound card to the headphones. If you're using, a virtual reality headset, the only way to get the audio from the sound card to the headset is, through really long wires, which is a very, cumbersome ordeal. Same with, this is a Windows mixed reality headset, same idea. It's got, if you connect directly to the HMD itself, so you'll notice that, each of these headsets, they have an audio jack. Yes, you can connect to the headset and get the audio from here, but this audio is from a completely different source. It's got nothing to do with the Sound Blaster card. So you're not getting the benefits of the sound card if you connect directly to the headset. So it's a challenge. It's a missed opportunity. So again, this is why people like me are stuck with these extra long cables, and it's really a pain in the neck, because you're in VR, and it's for those of us who are still with a cable-based head-mounted display, it's very easy to slap the wire off the headphones. You're moving about in virtual reality and so on, which is natural. So it's cumbersome, but it's a trade-off you have to have if you want to take advantage of a sound card like this. Now, to make it all worthwhile, there has to be a solution, right? What would have to happen to make it worthwhile to use a sound card with virtual reality, with games, with 5.1. So these are the criteria I wanted to satisfy. So first, I wanted to be able to have the sound card's audio come through the HDMI connectors, okay? So that, and by doing that, it should fully support, my 5.1 surround sound system. It should support my virtual reality devices so that it's no longer necessary to connect this crazy long cord, and instead I could plug my headphones directly in, and I'd get the audio channeled from the actual sound card. I would want to be able to have, Bluetooth support. So, Bluetooth has its own trade-offs, mind you, but even so, an advantage of Bluetooth is there's no wires whatsoever. So I'd like that option available to me. I want all the enhancements available through the Sound Blaster card. So all those things, those tweaks, those things I could do to make the audio sound better, I want access to them. And last but not least, I want easy volume control. All right. So what I mean by that is, if I'm in virtual reality, I don't want to have to take my headset off to adjust the volume. I want an easy way to adjust the volume on the go, still benefit from all the audio features. Same with traditional gaming. I want to be able to, easily change the volume and not have to go through some crazy hack to make it work. So good news is I figured it out. And if your audio experience is the same as my audio experience, provided, of course, that this works for you, you'll be smiling ear to ear. So I'm going to explain the process right after this. Welcome back. So we've got, it's actually a pretty easy thing to do, but let me walk you through the whole process. So the first thing we need to do is, before we even start playing with audio settings and all that stuff, is you need to reboot your computer and go into your BIOS settings and disable the onboard audio. So most motherboards, they're built with, let's say, Realtek audio, whatever it is, you need to disable it. Usually you could do it from the BIOS under the peripheral section, but it could be a little different with each motherboard. Now, it's important to do it from the BIOS. I made the mistake where I uninstalled the software from the motherboard audio software, which is fine. You need to do that as well, but it wasn't enough. I ran into all kinds of trouble, and the trouble went away when I disabled it at the BIOS level. Okay, so do that. Save yourself the trouble. You could be a little adventurous later on when things are working, but for now, just disable it at the BIOS level. Uninstall the audio software. In my case, it was the Realtek software. Make sure your Creative Labs AE5 software is installed, including the Creative Labs command software, and then you're good to get started. Okay, so here we have a standard Windows 10 desktop. I'm just going to click on this volume icon here, and you'll see that I have my output choices. Okay, so these are my different audio options. So the Panasonic, this refers to my 5.1 surround sound speakers. They're connected through a digital HDMI connector from the back of my graphics card. In this case, I'm using an AMD graphics card. If I click on some tones, I could actually hear the tones. You can't hear them, but I can hear them. They're coming from my speakers. The SBDIF out, that's the digital output connection from the Sound Blaster card. Okay. You're not likely going to use that. It has limited support, and my understanding is it doesn't even support full surround sound anyway. So we're not going to be using that. And then finally, the speakers. Okay, so this refers to the audio jacks of the sound card. It's either going to headphones, or it could go to 5.1 or a stereo pair of speakers. This is really what's directly linked to the Creative Labs AE5 Sound Blaster, and I'm playing with this and I'm not hearing any tones. Okay, the only way I would hear those tones again is if my headphones were directly jacked into the sound card, or I had analog speakers connected to the different jacks in the back of the sound card. Other than that, the Sound Blaster is living in its own world. Okay, so we want to figure out a way to get the audio from that Sound Blaster card channeled into something my digital connections will understand. In this case, my 5.1 surround sound speakers. So let's go back to that, that little audio icon on the bottom right of our desktop. I'm going to right-click it. I'm going to click on Open Sound Settings. All right, great. So from this page, okay, we're going to, on the right-hand side, you're going to see Sound Control Panel. So we're going to click on that as well. Okay, and this is the Playback tab. And under this Playback tab, I have all these audio output options. Okay, so we've got the Panasonic, which is that 5.1 surround sound connected to my graphics card. These other connections in red represent each of the connectors in the back of my graphics card, so we could ignore those. Headset, you may have a Bluetooth headset that it remembers, that you have all kinds of audio outputs, all right? What we need to do is, thinking in advance, where do we want this audio to go? In my case, I want it to go to my 5.1 surround sound speaker. So I click on the Panasonic, I right-click on it, and I choose Configure Speakers. Okay, this is an important step so that we know that the audio is being received in the right format. So if from here you configure the speakers. Okay, so I'm in a 5.1 surround sound setup. I can't actually, I suppose I could, but the sound card wouldn't support it. This particular sound card doesn't support it. Work with 7.1. Okay, so really my best option, my only option really is 5.1 surround. Okay, and then we have the individual speakers, and if I click on each one, you're not going to hear it, but I hear it. I actually hear the different channels coming through each of the speakers, and that's the way it should be. Okay, I click next. I could customize my configuration. I click next again, and under full range speakers, this has to do with really your setup. Some surround sound systems have better speakers in the front, and speakers that aren't quite as capable in the back. Okay, it saves a little money, that type of thing. But from what you do is you choose which of your speakers are considered full range speakers, that they cover a broad range of frequencies. Okay, in my case, I chose all of them. You click next, finished. Okay, so now anything sent to the Panasonic, it knows what that what those speakers are capable of. Okay. Next tab. So we were in the playback tab. Now we're going to go to the recording tab. And in the recording tab, okay, we have different options. We can, the headset usually refers to maybe a microphone's on the headset. You have standard microphone jacks and so on. There's an option here called what you hear. Really what it says, what you hear. And what this is for is as follows. Yes, when you're using a sound card, the audio is being channeled from the sound card. It's going to the jacks connected to the sound card. But what this what you hear function is for is it can create a second audio stream for the purposes of recording. Okay, so if I'm playing a game or if I'm creating music or whatever I might be doing with my sound card, it will take a reproduction of that audio and stream it to a second audio source simultaneously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on what you hear. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set it as a default device. And the reason I'm doing that is every time I reboot my computer, I don't want to have to reconfigure this every time. I want it to remember, I want it to look at this device, I want it to behave the same way 100% of the time. So I've set it as a default device. I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to choose properties. Okay, so general. Under the General tab, you don't really need to do anything. The Listen tab is very important. So I'm going to click on the Listen to this device button. And next, I'm going to choose where I want the audio channeled. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to choose the Panasonic surround sound speaker. So again, what's going to happen is, even though audio is coming out of the sound card to its own jacks, a second audio stream is going to be sent to my Panasonic surround sound speakers. All right, but we're not done yet. Next tab is levels. Okay, right now I have it set to 100%. We'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, last tab, default format. Okay, so if you click under that button, or sorry, this menu option, you're going to see all kinds of options: 2 channels, 6 channels. The bit rate, the hertz rating, and so on. What you need to do here is you need to choose 6-channel, 24-bit, 48,000 hertz, or 48 kilohertz. And the reason you're selecting this channel is 6-channel refers to 5.1. So you got the 3 speakers in the front, 2 speakers in the back, plus the subwoofer. That effectively amounts to the 6 channels. If you don't have enough channels, you're not going to get the full audio experience. And the reason why we're saying 24-bit and 48,000 hertz is, my understanding is that's the most that content creators use anyway, and beyond that you're not going to hear much in the way of a difference at all. So we're going to go with that. Click OK. Right, this is just a quick warning message, but that's fine. We're going to click yes. So we're partly set. So now we have, in addition to the sound card doing its own thing, we have a second stream going to the surround sound speakers. Okay, great. So we're going to click OK. Next, so we could close this window, right? And now this blue button on the bottom here, that's my Sound Blaster command. Okay, that comes with the software drivers for the Sound Blaster. And we're going to click on the playback tab. Okay, so in this playback tab, we have 2 big options. We either have speakers or headphones. So we're going to go with speakers. So it's already selected. I'm going to click on this settings cog over here. And we have a choice. Okay, so first off, under configuration, we want surround sound, 5.1 surround. There's a stereo option, but that's not very helpful here. So again, 5.1, that's what we're looking to play out of. And then we choose our speakers. Now, the reality is, I don't think this matters, because this is intended for the jacks coming out of the sound card, not for the audio coming out of my surround sound or other sources. So I don't think this actually makes a difference. But for argument's sake, I'm choosing bookshelf speakers, okay, because they're, mid-range speakers. I figure that's the best bet. Everything else, just keep it the same. As far as the output here, 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. Okay, so that's kind of what we set before, so that's great. we're going to click done. Okay, and now here's a test. See, what's happening is, well, you can't hear it, but I can hear it, is that the Sound Blaster is sending out test signals to each of my channels. Okay, exactly the way it would sound directly from the Sound Blaster card. All right, so it's working. All right, so we got the test, we've got the distinct channels, everything is working great. This is where the fun happens. So now, okay, when in fact, I'll actually show you. I'm going to click on that volume icon at the bottom. Okay, so now you see speaker, Sound Blaster AE5. Before, if I were to use it, I'd get silence. Now I'm hearing the dings through my Panasonic surround sound speakers. Okay, and what this also means is I could take advantage of all these different profiles and settings. Like I could play a little bit with the surround sound settings. I could take advantage of the Sound Blaster crystallizer, which makes some audio sound better to taste. They've got smart volume features and all kinds of enhancements that I can take advantage of that I couldn't use before. So this is really cool stuff. Of course, I have equalizers, all kinds of stuff I couldn't do before. At least I couldn't do very well before. So this is great stuff. But we have a problem. Okay, so this is step one. Okay, but the problem is that if I'm in a video game, here I'll close this. Okay, and just to demonstrate, actually you won't hear it. I can't actually control the volume from my applications. So if I'm in a video game and I'm using the keyboard to adjust the volume and so on, I can't do it because the volume controls were intended for playback devices. They weren't intended for recording devices. And if I'm in virtual reality and I'm wearing a headset, it's like I can't be bothered to find my keyboard and to get it, like to go into the settings. It's pretty deep, right, to find that setting. So that would have been a nightmare. And I'm very pleased that I found a free software utility, and I contacted the author to make sure that the software is still updated and supported, called Volume 2. And I'm just going to, I actually already have it installed on my computer, but I'm going to just load it up here. Okay. So there's it's got a little icon on the bottom right here. I'm going to go into the settings. What I do is for the audio device, I choose what you hear. So I have all these device choices, but I'm going to choose what you hear. So I'm actually able to choose a recording device for volume control. So I'm going to click close. Now what this Volume 2 program is it's an alternative to Windows standard volume control panel. So what I'm going to do is, you see right now it's set to 100. I can adjust it just as I would a normal volume, and it works. I mean, you can't hear it, but I can hear it. But the point is, you can, when you adjust, so you could be in your game. So if you're just playing a regular game, you just use your keyboard volume controls as you would otherwise, and it actually has other options. You could customize different things, but it's very, very natural. So what this means is, you see it for yourself. I mean, right now I set it for my surround sound speakers, but if I wanted it to work on any other device, all I would do is I'd right click, I go into my sound settings, choose Sound Control Panel. Okay, I go into the Recording tab again. What you hear, I right-click on it, go into Properties. I choose Listen, and I would choose another output. So if I had, let's say, Bluetooth headphones connected to this, I would see my Bluetooth headphones listed, and I would choose that as the output choice. I would then go, then I would go into the Creative Labs software. I choose, again, the playback option. And then I choose headphones. And it would behave as though I had the headphones directly connected to the Sound Blaster card. And, you know, I ran tests just to make sure I was hearing things properly, where I was connecting my headphones directly to the sound card, and I was connecting them, you know, through the headphones jack of my virtual reality device, which is connected through the HDMI connector, and they're the same. Like, I can't distinct, like I can't, and what I mean by the same, I mean that the audio is being channeled from the Sound Blaster card versus, you know, I'm not talking about comparing between, you know, just the HDMI audio from the graphics card without Sound Blaster involved. If you compare there, you're going to notice a difference. I mean, there is a difference. But if you're comparing Sound Blaster to Sound Blaster, I found it very much the same. I had difficulty distinguishing between the two. So I'm really happy with this. Now, there's when it comes to virtual reality devices, there's one more consideration when you're in VR, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about virtual reality. Now, I'm going to use the HTC Vive as an example. Okay, so there's a little bit of misdirection, so I don't want you to get lost like I did. If we right-click, okay, so we'll go into the open sound settings. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get this switched over to headphones, okay? But not just any pair of headphones. We will need them to switch over to the HTC Vive headphones. So if we look at, so I'm going to open this sound control panel, okay, as we did before. I'm going to go into recording. I'm going to right-click on what you hear, properties, listen, and then we have our options here, okay? But I don't see anything to do with HTC. So let's go back to our output. So we're going to go back to playback. Now there is one output here listed, USB audio device, okay? And I made the mistake of using that, and that's why I had it disabled, so I don't make that mistake again. And it does channel to the HTC Vive. The problem is the audio quality is horrible, and it didn't make any sense to me that it wasn't patching through properly. And then what happened was I made the discovery that that isn't the actual output, okay? What happens is the correct HTC audio output only appears when the headset is activated. So what I'll do, let me just show you. So we'll get out of this. And we're going to turn on Steam VR. All right. So Steam VR is activating, and I'm going to turn my controllers on here. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got the base stations are acting up, or sorry, not acting up, activating. And now let's take another look at that sound panel. So open sound settings, sound control panel, recording, what you hear. Again, we need to set that as a default device. Properties, listen, and lo and behold, HTC Vive. That's what we want. So it's selected. We're going to click OK. OK, wonderful. So we could actually close this. And let's go into the Creative Labs command. So we'll go to that playback tab. And again, we have the choice of speakers or headphones. So it's already selected. We choose headphones. I clicked on the cog. This is, you don't really have to worry about this because this really speaks to headphones connected directly to the sound card, but that's not happening in this case, so really nothing needs to be done here. It's fine. And just to test it, let's hope this works. I'm going to wear the headphones, and I'm going to click on the surround sound, and sure enough, I'm getting wonderful surround sound through my headphones, provided by the Sound Blaster, channeled through HDMI to my HTC Vive. So it all works. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to close this up. But this leaves us with a big question. How do we handle volume control when we're wearing our head-mounted display? I mean, yes, it is convenient that, you know, I could do it through the keyboard, but not all of us could see our keyboards when we're in virtual reality. So fortunately, though, there is a solution. So I'm going to put this on. I apologize for the awkwardness, but I'm just going to put this on now. Okay, so I'm in virtual reality. All right, so what I need to do is, if I control the speakers direct, and you see it's a maximum here, doesn't actually make a difference, right? So what I need to do is I go to HTC Vive, I click on the volume, I raise it to the level I want, or lower it, whatever it is. So I'm going to go 82%, whatever that is. Then I go back to the Sound Blaster, and it should be at the volume I effectively want it. If I click on the volume, it sounds about right. There we go. Some quick comments before I go. Creative Labs, I hope you got to see this. Please continue to put effort into the what you hear part of the program. I'm really glad I was able to make that discovery here. Also, I'd like to commend the makers of Volume 2. If it wasn't for that software application, none of this would have worked. And I want to wish everyone the best health during this coronavirus quarantine. I have a feeling things are going to gradually get closer to normal soon, but all the same, best wishes to everyone. Hi, Snickers. And we'll be back. We'll do this again. Thank you for watching.